right, ladies and gentlemen, Devil's Head behind me there, and I found some liquid water. So let's put a theory to the test and see what we find in this creek. So I've been living in Australia for the last year, and the timing just worked out that when I came back to Canada for a couple months to build high bankers, it's coming into winter. And I grew up in Calgary, lived there for, I guess, 37 years. And every winter, I get sad. I think it has something to do, I mean, they say the short days, but it's always sunny in Calgary. For me, I think the problem is I just sort of go into hibernation mode, and I kind of just find an excuse to do nothing for a while. Basically a bear, I just crawl into a cave. So you stay warm inside your house, and then you get in your car and you go to the gym or the office or wherever you're going, and you kind of just avoid the outdoors. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, we live within an hour drive of one of the most incredible winter wonderlands on this planet. Just take that view in. Ooh. That is absolutely unreal. So, given the fact that we have this incredible winter wonderland, I find that the cure for me for feeling down in the winter is to actually go out to the mountains, because to the right person with the right activities, this is just an incredible playground. And the problem is, it's quite a drive to head all the way out to beautiful British Columbia, where there's supposed to be gold. And I have a little theory. I don't know if it's a theory. Don't put too much thought into this idea of mine. But I think there might be some gold somewhere around here, and I think it might be worth looking for it. So take this with a giant Himalayan-sized grain of salt. My geological theories are just in my head. But what you've got in Canada here is a whole series of mountains out there. And the ones closest to the prairies are the Rocky Mountains. At the very southern end of the Rocky Mountains, you've got Cranbrook, Fort Steele, and that's the Wild Horse River. There's gold down there, and it's coming off the western slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Move up to Jasper and north of Jasper, you've got gold up there as well. Now on the eastern slope of the Rockies, coming into Calgary, the Bow River, the Elbow River, Bragg Creek, it never seems like the right kind of rock to contain gold. It's usually some sort of shale-based thing, but as you look through the river, you will find quartz. And it's usually a very clean white quartz. It's not that dirty, heavily mineralized stuff. But there's these little anomalies that poke up every once in a while, and one of them probably has some gold in it. Case in point, and I won't name specifics, just in case some locals are like, this is my spot, and then you ruined it. But halfway down to Cranbrook, on the eastern slope of the Rockies, there is gold coming out of one of these little creeks. I never thought there was any gold in the Bow River in Calgary, but just south of Calgary, I found maybe 3 or 4 colors a pan, but some of the largest flakes of gold that I've found in this entire province. And so I think the way things happen is, whatever, 10,000 years ago, there's a kilometer thick glacier covering all of this rock. And basically that just chews everything out, takes a giant scoop of this stuff. Here and there, there's going to be gold-rich quartz veins, and it distributes it all over the prairies. A lot of the stuff around that Edmonton gold area in Alberta came out of Jasper or north of Jasper and just sort of got distributed everywhere. Of course, there's so much glacier when everything melts. The ancient rivers are huge. They concentrate some gold, and then today's rivers, when they cut across one of those ancient concentrations, that's where you find a pay streak. I found in 2020, in a 3-day trip, including leaving Calgary, driving to site, taking my Sea-Doo out on this river, and driving home, in 3 days, in one of these pay streaks, I found 27 grams of gold, which is completely wild to consider at today's gold prices, in 3 days. Now, I've been back to that location multiple times, even after a big flood, and it just never had the same conditions to deposit that same amount again. But that type of concentration does happen occasionally in Alberta when you're really lucky. So my theory is that this close to the mountains, I'm not going to find that surface level fine gold pay streak that I normally would further east into the prairies. But if there's any little chunks, if there's one little quartz vein hidden up here somewhere, it's going to be dropping that gold down deep, and I'm going to be finding it on bedrock. So I came here for two reasons today. One, I'm just getting a rough lay of the land to see if there's some place I can hike or ski tour up into where I can actually get access to some bedrock and maybe come back for a winter snipe in an area where everyone would say, hey, there's no gold, it's not even worth it. But it's close to home, I can do it as a day trip, and I think it might be worth having a look. What I'm here today to do, on top of scoping for the future, is I'm just going to take a pan and I'm going to have a look around and I'm going to see if I can find any mineralization, if I can find any quartz mixed in with all of this shale, and honestly, just sort of clear my head and dip a pan, come out, bathe in the majesty of all this nature, and yeah, I just wanted to come out and actually do a little panning while I was here. But there's also that thought that maybe I could find a place to snipe, and I might be crazy, but who knows? If I find a little flake or something like that, then it's promising, and it would be really cool to go south to north and just check out this area near Calgary and see if there's something there that isn't in the history books. So with that said, I've got some neoprene gloves on inside of some dry suit gloves, and should keep my feet warm with the boots. We're just going to have a little look around and enjoy the nice weather. Warm hands are going to be key today, as it is nice and sunny out, but this water is proper cold, especially for somebody who's acclimatized to Australia, a land where in the middle of the winter, the ocean temperature is still about 17 degrees Celsius, and that's considered cold. So yeah, it's a little bit out of my element, but I definitely appreciate the sunshine. And it almost looks like there's a little bit of bedrock in this area. So yeah, might be silly even looking for gold here, but we're gonna have a peek. Start with a little swath off the surface here. So far, it's kind of what I expected, but I'm gonna have a little look along here because there are some little bedrocky areas, and I want to see if there's anything even gold related that's hanging out in some of these catches. Might be a little dark to see here, but you do have these sandbars, a little bit of silt forming up here. And this is sort of formed up just after some of these rocks over here. And what I'm noticing in this area is I don't see a lot of that white quartzy stuff that I was talking about. But there is a little bit. And while I don't think this is going to be that nice mineralized stuff, if that's even quartz, that's kind of what I'm keeping an eye on, is if you have some of this stuff mixed in. No, that's not quartz. But where are the odd rocks coming from? And is there potentially something upstream that's a little bit more interesting? So we'll get some of this through a pan and see if we find any little quartz style rocks. Yeah. Why not? It's just a gorgeous day today. Wow. But I gotta say, just the pressure of the neoprene and all the stuff on my fingers, I think, is pulling some of the blood out of my hands, and they're just ice cold already. That's my inner Australian screaming out right now. Wants to have his heat back. But we'll have a look in the sandbar here and see if there's any natural concentration of any heavies. See if swinging a pan around gets some blood flowing into those fingertips at all. I'm going to shake my hands out a little bit, try a few spots here, and we'll show you what we're left with in the pan after, say, 5 pans. Oh, yeah, that escalated quickly. My hands just got that incredible, like, bone-penetrating, painfully cold after like 3 gold pans. And so I've warmed them back up. I've got some nice warm drink in a thermos, so that'll keep the core warm. But now they're feeling warm, like they did the cold and then the blood's coming back. I don't know if I can retrain my hands to be Canadian in the course of a couple of minutes, but we're going to reassess the glove situation. I think my idea that having these neoprene gloves here, 5mm neoprene, underneath these dry gloves was a good idea, but basically the pressure of all that stuff just kept the blood out of my fingers. And so I'm going to a nice, light, fluffy liner like this that you're supposed to wear with your dry suit. And this will be a looser fit inside. Now, this will prevent me from reaching down deep into the water and, you know, getting water into these cuffs. But after that brief experience of 3 pans so far, I do not plan on doing that anyways, because that is just brutally cold. So there, that feels nice and loose. I still have circulation in my fingers, and now I can get back to work. But whew, that's a brutal reminder right there. I'm never going to complain about the heat ever again until it's 40 degrees in Australia, and then I'll kind of wish it was cold again. But anyways. Yeah, I mean, I've just got the afternoon out here, so nothing else to do. Might as well keep hiking this creek a little bit and exploring. If I find anything, I'll let you know. I don't know, I didn't get that much work done, but as you can see, the sun is setting and it's going to be dark soon since winter. I'll give you a quick close-up of the pan. There's really nothing interesting in there, and that by itself is actually slightly interesting. Let's just bring you over here real quick. All right. The good news, the gloves work great. So just a nice liner and a big loose dry suit glove like this, and feeling warm. But as far as exciting gold pan, we do not have anything to offer today. So it all seems like this really light stuff in this area. And there's no black sand in the corners. There's no little line of heavy. It's almost like there's just no mineralization. There's your top edge there. There's some lighter colored stuff that sort of seems to be concentrating there, but basically we're going to catch and release all of that, and no need for the snuffer bottle today. But yeah, I'm glad I got to come out. It's kind of nice that, I don't know, just the feeling that you can come out and you can do things, even though it's the middle of the winter. It's just a good feeling. And maybe I'll convince Chris to get that hot tent with the stove in it. And I've got a little sled we can tow behind us, and maybe we can ski out to those mountains and do like a little hot tent something at some point. But yeah, I'll see you guys back at the car here, hopefully before it gets dark. Made it back in the nick of time before dark. And speaking of the dark, let me present to you, friend of the channel today, the Woobin X3. Just like your headphones have a charging case, so does this. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Now, I don't usually do too many of these product reviews on the channel, or I try not to. But Woobin reached out to me about 3 months ago, and I used to be a huge LED flashlight nerd. My very first one was a jet beam back in the day when lithium batteries were just becoming a thing, and it was really hard to find, like, you know, the right LED with good efficiency and nice color and everything. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with this thing. When I'm out mining, I typically have a headlamp on if I'm busy doing stuff, but you don't always just want to have a headlamp on when you're walking around camp at night, and with the strap and everything, it's a little bulky in the pocket. This guy here, it's got a little belt strap right here, so you can stick it on a backpack loop here or on a belt loop, and the light shines forwards like this. You can also flip it to shine straight like a normal light, which is a pretty cool feature. And I'm just gonna give you a little closer overview of this thing because it's a pretty solid little product. So I really like a AA battery size of flashlight. There used to be ones with like 3 AAAs, and a single AA just has more energy in them than those 3 AAAs. It's more compact, it's cheaper, you can get it anywhere in the world. But in today's world, you can pretty much always be guaranteed you have a USB-C to charge your phone, and the charging case on this charges with that USB-C. This is a wireless charger built in, which is pretty cool. The case is entirely glow in the dark, which I think is fantastic. And it's got a little screen here. It'll tell you what mode you're in, and it's pretty easy to operate. You've got a white LED, and if you press and hold, you've got your red LED. It's fantastic having both on the same light, and of course, it's got a really bright mode as well for that red one. Now, coming back to this, you've got 1 lumen, 50 lumens, and 150 lumens. There's your 150. So it throws a decent amount of light, but the party trick of this thing is at any point if you double click it. So you just double click, and it's 700 lumens. It only does this for 30 seconds, ridiculously bright. And the cool feature about that is because the beam pattern on this is so nice. It's this really, really wide, you can see your feet, all the roots and rocks you're walking on, especially if you have it tipped over facing forwards like this, and you've just got it clipped on a belt loop or something like that. So it really floods the whole area nicely. And it's got this little center hotspot. There's no rings or anything wrong with it. It's just this really smooth, you can almost not tell that there's a hotspot in the middle. I've never actually seen a beam pattern that nice on an LED. Woobin, the brand, they actually, in your owner's manual for this thing, they tell you the specific model number of which, like, Samsung LED they use for both the red and the white. And it's just a wicked size of light. Now, compared to that AA, this has about 1.5, maybe 1.6 times more energy inside of it. But because of the flat form factor, I've literally been walking around with this in my pocket, wondering where I put it because I couldn't tell it was in my pocket. It sits nice and flat like this. And of course, with the belt loop, you can have it on the outside. It's super convenient. I like that it can flip to shine forwards or sideways. Magnets on the bottom, so you can stick it to your car and kind of point it to where you're working. And the case is glow in the dark. If you really want, you can press this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you get these little blue lights on the side. So if you were using this clipped on the top of a helmet for a bike or something like that, it gives a little side visibility as like a bike headlamp. And it's just a solid build quality. Like, it feels tight, it feels solid. Right to repair wise, there's little bolts here. You can actually like open the thing up if you needed to. And I've been really happy with it. On the lowest mode, which is plenty around camp kind of a thing, this thing will last for 50 hours. And on the medium mode, it's 6 hours, high mode 2 hours, which is plenty in my books. And I'm just going to show you the charge case real quick because I never thought I'd actually use a charge case for something like this, but it's turned out to be super handy. Battery in here is 1,000 milliamp hour lithium, and here it's 3,000 milliamp hours. So you can charge this thing about 2.5 times by the time you factor in your charging efficiency. And you just slap that closed. You got this really nice diffused beam there. Of course, you can still access the top, so you can change the brightness. And it's just a perfect little lantern to have around camp. The amount of battery you get in this thing, I've been using this as my bedside table lamp for the last couple weeks, and on low mode, I even left it all night once. I just fell asleep with it on. Still says 100% charge here, so the case has just been keeping this thing charged. You get a ton of time out of this thing, which is fantastic. I just love the fact that even in the charge case, you can still use it as a little glow lantern, and then by itself, it's so small, perfect little form factor. So basically the way this works is Woobin is having a Black Friday sale right now, so you can check the link in the description below. There'll be a code down there that is your discount, so you get a genuine discount off of a light like this if you want it, and of course that throws a commission my way as well. So it's, I don't know, I guess a way to support the channel, but mainly I found something that I thought was actually pretty cool. It's been a while since I've been into the wacky, wonderful world of LED lights, and this one seems like a winner. So if you want to hook yourself up with one, like I always say, don't buy this if you don't need it. You know, don't buy it if you don't have the money for it. But if you want one and you have the money, I think this is a winning product. And yeah, just check that out in the description below. As far as I am concerned, I'm going to hop in my car, get toasty, and head on back to Calgary. And it's been nice to come out here and just get a little refresh, a little forest bathing, a little proximity to the mountains. Feels good to be home. That is nice. Very nice. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. And as always, thanks for watching.